years ago, I was asked to give a presentation for the Leadership Arlington group on their neighborhood day. I'm a native Arlingtonian and a longtime realtor in Arlington. When I'm working with buyers to find a home, it's not just about finding a house that meets their needs. It's also about the neighborhood, the community, the lifestyle. So I set up a website called allaroundarlington.com that offered more than just home search tools. It talks about local restaurants and local businesses and special events going on in Arlington. Out of that came a Facebook page called 365 Things to Do in Arlington, 365arlington.com for short. And for the first year, I posted something different every day. I wanted to show that this is a great place to live 365 days of the year. It might be a post about a special event, like the county fair or the outdoor movies in Roslyn, Columbia Pike Blues Festival. It might be a post about a new bar or restaurant. It might be visiting the tourist spots like Arlington Cemetery, the Air Force Memorial, or the Marine Corps Memorial. It might be about going for a bike ride on the many trails in Arlington, or where to find public tennis courts, or joining a running club. It's been going on for some time now, and I continue to update it, although no longer on a daily basis. Sheila Berry is one of my nearly 6,000 fans and invited me to Leadership Arlington to talk a little bit about Arlington, its neighborhoods, and the changes that I've observed over the years. So I will wax nostalgic for a few minutes about my childhood here, talk a little about how it's the same or different today, and then we're going to have a little interactive trivia quiz. It will test your knowledge about Arlington's rich history. My recollection of Arlington then and now. I was born at what was then Arlington Hospital, now Virginia Hospital Center, and came home to a house my parents had built the year before on North Roosevelt Street, between Washington Boulevard and Lee Highway, near what's now the East Falls Church Metro Station, but it was before the Metro and I-66 existed. I remember the neighborhood kids of all the ages gathering to play hide and seek in the cul-de-sac up the street, nearly every afternoon in nice weather. There was no parental supervision, but we knew the mom of one of our friends who lived on the cul-de-sac was a nurse. It was there if we needed her. There were no cell phones to tell us it was time to come home. My mom rang a bell from the back porch to communicate. The area where the Metro and the Sycamore Heights townhouses are now was all woods with a stream running through it. We rode homemade skateboards down 22nd Road, made from a 1x6 separated roller skate
wheels on either end.
When we got to the woods, we used to swing across the stream on the vines that hung from the trees. We also played on what we called the giant anthill, a big red pile of dirt that was perhaps part of the early construction for the Metro and 66. We spent summer days, rain or shine, at our neighborhood pool, Overly, where most of our friends were also members. With the exception of a few friends who went to parochial schools, we all went to the neighborhood schools. And while schools were desegregated by then, the neighborhoods were not very diverse. So neither was the school population. Early on, we shopped at the freestanding Sears, Penny's, and Woolworth's 5 and Dime in Clarendon, which had a soda fountain, at Cairns in Virginia Square, and at Parkington, anchored by the Heck Company, which was then an open-air mall and was supposed to have the largest parking garage in the U.S. when it was first built. Or we ventured into Falls Church to Seven Corners, which was then an enclosed mall, anchored by Woodward and Lothrop on one end, and the high-end Garfinkel's on the other, with Raleigh's in the middle, and Lord & Taylor across the street where Sears was most recently, and Jelliff's where 24-Hour Fitness is. We even had a special charge card, the Washington shopping plate, that was good at those stores. We would get ice cream at Gifford's, which had great banana splits and Alpine sundaes. We stopped at Ayers, where Mr. Ayers would give out free Tootsie Pops to the kids. We've watched movies at the State Theater or the drive-in farther out Lee Highway. And every Sunday night, our family dinner involved picking up pizza from the pizza box at Westover. No delivery back then. And for special occasions, we ate at the Alpine on Lee Highway or South Pacific in Parkington. Our friends were all in the neighborhood, and we could walk or ride our bikes to their homes and bike on the nearby W&OD trail. We communicated by landline phones. No area code needed at the time, and the first two digits were an exchange. Jefferson stood for JE or 53, so you quoted your number as a Jefferson 3, whatever it was. There was definitely a sense of neighborliness. I still remember the names of about 30 of the families that lived in our neighborhood, and have stayed in touch with several of them. I remember an older widowed woman up the street who would have all the neighborhood kids over for cookies and cocoa at Christmas time, and a neighbor of Hungarian descent who brought goulash to our family after my mother had surgery. I lived in the same house until I went away to college, breaking with family tradition and turning down an offer to go to UVA to go to Florida State and explore a new area. It was a great college town, but it made me appreciate Arlington, and I returned to the area immediately after school. By then, the area had undergone many changes. Thousands of Vietnamese immigrated to the area at the end of the war, setting up shops and restaurants in Clarendon, which were being offered to them at affordable rates. The Blue Line of the Metro from National Airport to the Stadium Armory and Orange Line stations to Ballston opened in the late 70s. The long, controversial Interstate 66 stretch from the Capitol Beltway to the Theodore Roosevelt Bridge was completed in 1982. The Metro set the stage for the development of urban villages around the transit centers, which offer shopping, restaurants, recreation, offices, and a mix of styles of homes, all within a few blocks of each other. But higher rents drove away many of the small mom-and-pop retailers and ethnic restaurants that had given its area its unique character. It also helped speed along the end of the large department stores and Five and Dimes in Clarendon. In addition to the Vietnamese immigrants, Arlington was attracting immigrants from all over the world. In 1960, there were only 7,063 foreign-born persons in Arlington, making up just 4.3% of the population. By 2000, there were 52,693 foreign-born persons from over 93 countries, representing almost 28%, or more than 1 in 4 of the county's total population, higher than any other jurisdiction in the D.C. area. Fast forward to today. Now I live on the other side of Westover in Lacey Woods, which is part of the Bluemont community. My kids chose to go to Arlington Traditional School rather than their neighborhood school. With the changing population in Arlington, the school is much more diverse than any of the Arlington schools I attended. There were kids from 22 countries and 28 languages being spoken within the school at the time they were there. And because kids came from all over Arlington, their friends didn't necessarily live in the neighborhood. They knew people at every one of the middle schools in Arlington and later at the high school. They communicated by cell phone, texting, Facebook, Twitter, Xbox Live, and Snapchat. We still shop in Clarendon, but no longer at the big department stores. Now we shop at the boutiques in Clarendon Market Common. My daughter takes the Metro to Roslyn and walks across the bridge to her shop in Georgetown, her favorite place. Seven Corners is no longer a destination anchored by high-end department stores, but has Home Depot and Ross Dress for Less as its anchors. We still belong to Overly, but with most moms working, the younger kids were in day camps most of the summer, so the pool was more of a weekend destination. And many of their friends belonged to different neighborhood pools, like Dominion Hill, Arlington Forest, or Donaldson Run. So they would take turns going to the different pools rather than just going to their own. Gifford's Ice Cream is now an Italian restaurant, but we can go to Toby's at Westover for ice cream, and it's delicious. We go to the movies at Courthouse or Ballston and sit in their big reclining seats. And while neither of my kids skateboarded, those that do could go to the state-of-the-art skateboard park with full rails and half pipes at Powhatan Skate Park in Dominion Hill. We still walk to Westover, and Ayers Hardware is still there, selling just about everything you need. But Mr. Ayers passed away long ago. Westover now also has a family-friendly beer garden and a Sunday morning farmers market, which we enjoy. And we love the new Italian store there. Rather than having to go pick up a pizza like we did every Sunday when I was a child, we can order pizza from Lost Dog Cafe, or we can order Indian food or Thai food or Chinese food. And for special occasions,
The Alpine is gone. So is South Pacific. But there are hundreds of restaurants taking their place. In addition to some of our favorites within walking distance, like Lebanese Taberna or Thai Noi at Westover, we can go to restaurant rows that have cropped up in Clarendon, Shirlington, and Crystal City and find something for almost every type of cuisine. While the Bluemont neighborhood I live in doesn't have a lot of annual activities, they do try to have a Halloween parade every year, maybe a couple of other events. But our immediate neighborhood of about a dozen families has formed its own little community, and there's a lot of neighborliness. We have planned gatherings to welcome new neighbors moving in or to say goodbye to those who are moving away, celebrated babies on the way and high school graduation, put on our finest hats to watch the Kentucky Derby together, and teamed up to shovel the sidewalks and driveway of an elderly neighbor during the snows. When a derecho hit and cut out power for the neighborhood, one neighbor hooked up his freezer to another neighbor's generator, and they offered everyone the chance to store their food there safely. And on 9/11, we all breathed a collective sigh of relief when our neighbor who worked at the Pentagon arrived home safely. And a year later, we gathered again for a candlelight vigil to remember the day while the kids waved flags and cheered on the passing cars. In what neighborhood were 3 towers, known as the Arlington radio station, erected by the U.S. Navy in 1913 to complete the first successful transoceanic voice communication and introducing the word radio to describe the new wireless communication? Penrose. The towers, also known as the Three Sisters, stood at South Courthouse Road and South 8th Street, transmitted a voice message 3,000 miles away to the Eiffel Tower in Paris and almost 5,000 miles to Pearl Harbor. They remained there until 1941 when they were dismantled because they were considered a menace to planes coming into National Airport. What Arlington neighborhood with over 3,400 homes was originally built in the early 1940s to house military and civilian defense personnel and their families? Arlington. Originally called Seminary Heights and later changed to Fairlington as a combination of Fairfax and Arlington, which it strapped, was built between 1942 and 1945 by the Defense Homes Corporation created by President Franklin D. Roosevelt because of its proximity to the Pentagon. At the time, it was the largest apartment complex in the nation. In 1947, it was sold to Fairmac Realty Corporation and operated as rental apartments until its conversion to condominiums in 1972. What Victorian home in the East Falls Church neighborhood is named for the family of one of the last living people to see Lincoln assassinated and the Virginia state senator who married her granddaughter? The Eastman Fenwick House. Also known as Everbloom, this 1876 Victorian home on Lee Highway, now Langston Boulevard, is now surrounded by the Fenwick Court townhomes. It was the home of Sarah Eastman, who attended Ford's Theater on the night Lincoln was shot and was one of the last survivors. Later, it was owned by her granddaughter, Eleanor Eastman, and Eleanor's husband, State Senator Charles Fenwick, who was my father's law partner and mentor. What neighborhood is reportedly named for the chandelier that hung in the lobby of the first building there? Crystal City. The area was mostly comprised of industrial sites, junkyards, and low-rent motels before development began by the Charles A. Smith Companies in 1963. The neighborhood may have been named for the elaborate chandelier in the Crystal House lobby. Future buildings also carry the Crystal name, such as Crystal Towers and Crystal Gateway. What street running through the Donaldson Run and Cherrydale neighborhood got its name because it used to be the site of a YWCA summer getaway spot? Vacation Lane. Stratford Junior High was built on the old YWCA Vacation Lodge site in 1950, and in 1959 it became the first public school in Virginia to desegregate. It's now the site of the Dorothy Ham Middle School and the Stratford program. What neighborhood is named after the original name Arlington County was given when it was retroceded back to Virginia in 1846? Alcova Heights. The community was named by its developer, State Senator Joseph Cloyd Byers, after Alexandria County, Virginia. Byers also owned the home he named to Alcova at 3435 8th Street South. A relatively new office building in the Ballston neighborhood features a distinctive metal canopy of bright blue diamond that's a replica of the canopy on a landmark that's stood for many years on the same site. What was that? Bob Peck Chevrolet. The car dealership at the corner of Wilson Boulevard and Glebe Road was one of Arlington's most recognizable structures. The transparent circular auto showroom with a diamond motif canopy spelling out the dealership's name was designed by architect Tony Rossellino, who was trying to make the roof a billboard and to make the roof look like it floated. The architect refused payment for supervision of construction and instead asked for a loaner of a 63 Corvette, followed by a 64 the following year. What is the name of the first residence in the Dominion Hills neighborhood, which up until 2021 was still a private residence, and it's named from the original builder's family and the second owner from a prominent department store family? The Febri Lothrop House. The colonial revival home at the corner of Wilson Boulevard and McKinley Road was built by John Febri, who kept his stables across the street where the Cavalier Club's apartments now stand. After Febri died, it was acquired by Alvin Lothrop of the Woodward and Lothrop Company, who used the property as a farm and summer retreat. During World War II, Trans World Airlines rented the property and used it as the Washington headquarters of its president. The property remained in the Lothrop family until 1950, when real estate developer and former master of the Fairfax Hunt, Randolph Rouse, bought it for $125,000. Ralph was at one time married to Audrey Meadow, who portrayed Jackie Gleason's wife, Alice, in The Honeymooners, so the home is sometimes referred to as the Audrey Meadows house. Unfortunately, it has recently been torn down to make way for a new development of 40 homes. What neighborhood has an old train caboose, which houses Arlington and Alexandria's only railway museum? Bluemont. The Bluemont Historical Railway Junction Display is located along the W&OD Trail in Bluemont Park. Southern Railway donated the caboose after the federal government allowed railroads to operate trains without cabooses.